national examinations where more than 1 million KCPE candidates who will be sitting are actually right now writing the mathematics paper and composition in the next 1 hour. Our reporter Shadrach Miti is already on the ground at Sharp Education Center just to tell us what time did the exam start, has the government rather ensure that all candidates are sitting in an environment that is accommodative when it comes to writing the national examination. Much more here on a KTN News Center. Of course, we shall also be talking to reporters in different parts of the country. My name is Brenda Zederadido. Let's begin KTN News Center this morning with our top story. But just before that, let me remind you about our Twitter poll where we ask you, was Parliament right to slash budgetary allocations for judiciary? Was Parliament right to slash budgetary allocations for judiciary? Let's begin this conversation on our social media platform at KTN News KE at Zeda Brenda, beginning with the hashtag KTN News Center. Now, this morning, more than 1,088,000 candidates are sitting their KCPE exams. Our reporter Shadrach Miti starts News Center with this top story. Shadrach Miti, good morning, and what do you have for us?
Well, Brenda, we are here in Kayole at Sharp Educational Center, where about 30 minutes ago, that's around 8:30 this morning, the 35 candidates here at this school began their mathematics paper, and that examination is set to run until 10:30, when they'll break shortly. Before now they come back to tackle the English examination. Then later in the afternoon they will be sitting for the English composition paper, and then they'll break for tomorrow. But remember, before we came here, we were in Westlands, where we witnessed Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala alongside the Kenya National Examination Council Chief Executive Officer Dr. Mercy Karogo opening the containing examination papers before the same papers were distributed across various schools within the Westlands sub-county. But remember, Brenda, this examination is happening at a time when the government, remember previously before it came to this day, the government had made so many plans to ensure that the examination runs smoothly and in a more secure manner that has never been witnessed before. And just to give you a brief of what has already been done, remember, in this year's examination, we are having a positive deviation of about 20 containers from what we had last year. Last year we had about 459 containers, but this year we have 479. And for each examination container, as per the government guidelines and report, each container is being manned by 5 security officers, and that alongside 2 police officers manning each of the 27,000 examination centers across the country. So that put together gives you a number of roughly about 60,000 police officers involved in securing this year's examination. And that one goes far to tell you how the government is serious on the security, integrity, and the smooth process of this examination. Remember, earlier on in the day, we had Professor George Magua, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Education, speaking in Mombasa, who gave a brief report on how the entire process is taking place. But he mentioned an issue of about 10 choppers being on standby to ensure that any area that has been cut off due to the ongoing rains and the floods that have been affecting the entire country is not left out, and that every candidate who registered for this year's examination will sit for the examination irrespective of the condition from where they are. But maybe just to get to know how far and how smooth the entire process is having, we are joined by the examination center manager for Sharp Education Center, just to tell us if what his observation is and what he feels about this year's examination. So karibu sana Bwana Wanjoy, and how do you find today's examination and the entire process? How does it compare to previous instances?
Thank you very much. The first thing I would like to say is that I would like to wish all the candidates who are sitting for this year's examination, that is KCPE and KCSE, all the best. And I would like them to know that this is the foundation of their good future. Now, if we look at what is going on currently, the KCPE exam has already started, and I would say that the security measures which have been put in place by the government are very ideal. Remember, if we want to build our nation, we must give credible education. And according to the 844 system of education, which we are having right now, it is an education system which is exam-based. And if it is exam-based, we must get credible results so that we get good professionals, we get good doctors, good teachers, and all along. And so when I find that the government has put all the measures, when I find the government has put all those security measures in place, I feel very, very excited. One, from the container, we've seen that the process is so smooth. There's no jam. People are being well organized, and I would say congratulations to the Kenya National Examination Council. Then, when it comes to the transportation of this examination, I find that there is an improvement because most of the exams have been transported using the school or the institutional vehicles, meaning any area where we have had a loophole has been sealed. And then, at the examination center, we find also something very important, that after the examination or the center manager brings the exam together with the security officer to the center, this person finds the supervisor and the invigilators. After the supervisor receives the exam, we find that every other person concerned is able to see where the exam has been put. This time around, there's no locking of the exams, and if there is any extra question paper, it is actually sealed in the envelope which it came in through, and it is put in the full view of the security officer and all the candidates and all the other persons who are manning things. So what I would like to say and urge all the Kenyans is that our government has done the best in making sure that there is good security as we do this exam. This is our nation, and if we want a good nation tomorrow, we must make sure that our young ones get credible results. Please, for those who normally practice other things, I would urge them to stop it, because we know that in any exam, a wise person never fails, but they always get results. We cannot all be the same. And this is what has made the government invest so heavily in this exam. I would like to urge the parents, the students, and even the teachers to teach honesty as this exam is being done. And I'm telling you, 10 years down the line, we will be able to see what our government has put in place is something that we are all going to enjoy. Otherwise, let us all make sure that we don't water down this security issue which has been put in place. And I would say that even the security officers who have been deployed to different areas do take your role well. And at the end of it, when this exam is being marked, let also the markers do their work well, and eventually we get that result which is good. Even if a school gets a low mark, a low mean, those students will still get 100% transition to high school. So there's nobody who is supposed to worry about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bwana Wanjohi. And so those are sentiments being raised by Mr. Wanjohi, the manager at the Sharp Education Center, Examination Center. And so those are some of the things we are following up to ensure that all our viewers get every detail of what is going on in so far as today's examination and this week's examination is concerned. And so I hand over to you to let other reports come in so that we understand everything into its detail. Back to you, Brenda.
All right, thank you so much, our man on the ground, Shadrach Miti, at the Sharp Education Center. And we've seen different interministerial, cabinet secretaries overseeing these exams. Let's begin with what Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha had to say in Mombasa.
Rosina, Junior.
You noticed we opened the container at 6 o'clock. This container system is now in its fourth and hopefully the final test year. The principal secretaries, the education people, the Teachers Service Commission staff and teachers, the security agencies and other special agencies of government. So this is actually a national operation. The downside this year is that there have been a lot of rains and we have had challenges in in Marsabit, in the other northeastern areas like Garissa and Wajir and Mandera and Tana River. And we are also on standby for Lamu because we have a lot of floods. We have had to right-size some schools by moving them to safe areas, and I want to assure the nation that every child shall take the exam this morning. We have 10 helicopters in addition to the police helicopters that are at our disposal. If and when required, they will lift exams and take them to exactly where they are required and pick them back to the container. I want to say that going forward, we require everybody's participation and fidelity in this process. My message to the students this morning is that they have absolutely nothing to worry about. Every child is born with a special tact in his brain. And since we are going to have 100% transition, there should actually be really no pressure. Let me also take this opportunity to warn very firmly the very few center managers who may attempt to block children from taking exams for whatever levies they were illegally levying the children. That if they do so, they will have themselves to blame. You can't stop a child from taking an exam because he failed to pay 300 shillings, which in the first place was not legal. So every child must be given access, unfettered access to the examination, and if there are issues, they can be sorted out later.
All right, now that is what Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha had to say in Mombasa, just assuring every candidate that despite the location and the weather patterns, they will be able to do the exams smoothly. Now, from the coastal region, we cross over to Nakuru County and speak to our reporter, Alan Ochande, still on matters national examinations. Alan Ochande, good morning. When we are talking to you about, national examinations, and my focus specifically here is on some of the KCPE candidates who are in Mau Forest were supposed to be evicted. Are they part of the over 1 million candidates who are writing the paper this morning?
Brenda mentioned is that to start on that point is that the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, has made a tour of these some primary schools here in Nakuru, specifically Gilgil DEB Primary School. There is a Gilgil Garrison Primary School, and finally made a stopover here where he wrapped his trip of the schools here at NYS Primary School here in Gilgil too. But he's assured all the candidates in the country, including those in the Mau area and all those in any area that is dogged with the calamities. And remember that some areas in northern Kenya and some parts of the Rift Valley had encountered some calamities like floods. But remember that the Ministry of Education had pledged that it will ensure that examination materials are transported there by air. And also, he's been speaking to us and just assured that the sanctity of the national primary examination will be restored. Remember that in the recent past there have been cases of cheating, but they have been suppressed in the recent past under his stewardship. Remember the Interior Cabinet Secretary, but he's been leading the battalion from the national government to just ensure that they tour all different parts and different parts of the country, and specifically the examination centers, which are essentially the primary school centers. But here at the Gilgil NYS Primary School, there was some commotion when he encountered some classes that were not in good condition. The ceiling boards were actually dilapidated, and he was quite visibly agitated and just cool. And as we speak at the moment, he has left some 30 minutes ago, but he has retained here the Deputy County Commissioner of Gilgil and the TSC Director of Gilgil Sub-County to just ensure that After the first paper, which is mathematics, then they will ensure that the classes are repaired and also supervised the evacuation of those pupils to a new classroom, which he termed as a bit safer. And remember that this primary school is also, it also houses the NYS here in Gilgil. And so the NYS youth, the servicemen, were actually just called in to just ensure that the classes are well kept and under the supervision of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, that is Fred Matiang'i. But it's a story we're still keeping an eye. Also remember that TSC Director Nancy Macharia is also just a stone throw away in Naivasha doing the same tour to just ensure that the kickoff of the national examination in Class 8 is just it's something that is of integrity and not marred with malpractices, which they are vowed to ensure that they shrink the space for its perpetrators. Brenda.
And Ochanda, in terms of security, what can you tell us about?
Yes, Brenda, all the primary schools that we visited alongside the Interior Cabinet Secretaries, we've seen at least 2 police officers just guarding the candidate classes, and also on the gates we've had security officers also manning to just ensure that there's nothing that just causes a security lapse here. But all the primary schools that we've visited here since 6 a.m., there was a bit calm. There's nothing to just raise any eyebrow here. And it's a situation where all the primary schools here, remember that before the exercise began some 3 weeks ago, the Cabinet Secretary held a meeting with the relevant stakeholders, including stakeholders from the Ministry of Education led by George Magoha, who is the Cabinet Secretary, and just they ensured that all the police officers took an oath of office to just ensure that they are loyal and ensure that the examination is carried out in a manner that amounts to integrity status. Brenda.
Right, thank you so much. Our reporter Alan Ochanda talking to us from Gilgil in Nakuru County. Alan, I'm sure you'll give us, the latest update when it comes to relocation of those candidates in that school. Now, away from that, but still on matters, KCPE and Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i is among, cabinet secretaries who are overseeing the national examinations, especially when it comes to matters security of the candidates. Let's just listen in to what he had to say.
First of all, I sincerely want to thank all of you, my colleagues who have come here as well in the morning, all of you head teachers who are now center managers, and my colleagues from the security sector who are here. Clearly, in this center, we are ready to begin exams this morning. As you know, now this has become essentially an institutionalized way of administering exams and managing this process in the country. It is upon us, all of us, especially we, the teachers, and we in the security sector, to ensure that we support our children and administer the exams successfully. I wanted to take this opportunity also to inform you, because we are in constant touch with the rest of the country. I've spoken to 7 out of 8 regional commissioners this morning, personally. I am in touch with the Inspector General of Police almost on an hourly basis since 4 a.m. this morning. We are fine across the country. There is no challenge anywhere. We are fine and ready to start exams. A while ago, I spoke to my colleague, Professor Magoha, who is in Vita in Mombasa. They have opened the container there also. They have started. Several other of my colleagues who are elsewhere, like my colleague Joe Musheru in Nyeri, they have also opened the container, they have started. The exercise has begun well across the country and we are doing well. I want to ask you, my brothers and sisters, this is a very important duty we have, especially to our children. Let us do the best we can and give it our best attention. Let's put our best foot forward and do it as we have always done, with commitment, knowing as we must that as responsible people, adults, parents, teachers, this is an opportunity we have to raise our children and support our kids, who are essentially the future of our country and the focus of our daily struggle. That is why all of us are involved in this, because there's no serious society anywhere on earth that doesn't pay attention to its children and its young people and ensure that we support them to succeed and to move forward. So I hope and pray that we will administer these exams with the same level of seriousness and same level of commitment we have done in the recent past, and that we will have credible results, credible exams, and enable our children to go to the next level in their studies, as it were. We will spend time around, and we are all around. We are on call all the time. None of us is actually on leave, both in education and in the security sector. We are here because this is an important exercise. So let's consult each other where there are issues. Let us know. I'm so grateful to the Regional Commissioner, Mr. Natembea, and the security team. We have been talking throughout since early this morning. In the whole of Rift Valley, where we were likely to have a challenge is the cases I had about schools around the Mao area, but fortunately the Regional Director of Education, our County Commissioner in Narok, they are all on that side today. And tomorrow we'll have another contingent of national security people in that direction to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Our children are supported to do exams. We will do our best, and I want to assure you, we will support you. My colleagues, the teachers who are here, we will support you. You are doing great stuff for our country. We love you very much, and we will continue to work with you and to support you. My brothers and sisters in the security sector, our security officers out there, let us not compromise anything. On this particular one, I want you to act firmly and decisively. Where you detect any problem, please act firmly in the interest of our children.
All right, there you've heard it from the man himself in charge of security matters in the country, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, CS Interior, talking to us about matter security, national examinations. Still on that, we cross over to Garissa County and speak to our man, Hamza Yusuf, who's keeping tabs with what's happening there. Hamza Yusuf, good morning. As we speak, there was a concern about the heavy floodings in Garissa County because it's been cut off from the other counties. How did the examination papers reach the schools?
Well, morning, Brenda. All is set here in Northeastern. Exams already kicked off at 8:30 with mathematics paper. 560 centers in Northeastern, 22,141 candidates are already sat their exam this morning. Of course, the issue of flood and rain has been there for the last 2-3 weeks, and there was that worry that it might cut off even some roads. But the good thing here is that, as you can hear, even that is a chopper which already dispatched the exams to different centers in Northeastern. Part of Wajir, if our cameraman Jacob can just show us that chopper, and exactly that's the chopper, some of the choppers, of course, which dispatch exams in different places of Northeastern, part of Wajir North, and also Garissa, part of Garissa, that is Ijara constituency, Hulugo, an area of the border the border of Kenya and Somalia. Security have been deployed. Enough security have been deployed. There has been that report yesterday or the day before that there might be that disruption of exams, but that is now already cleared, or that's already something that, of course, the security department handle it well. With me here is the entire security team, but let me talk to Mr. Barik Mohammed, who is the regional commissioner. Talk to us about how has it been, the preparation, and how many centers are we talking about?
Thank you very much. The exam has kicked off today in all the counties, in all the sub-counties, in the 560 centers across the whole region. We have about 22,105 students, of course, who will be sitting for their KCPE examinations today and, of course, in the next 2 days. I can assure you that sufficient preparations have already been put in place. We have had challenges, of course, of the floods, you are aware. Some of the roads have been cut off. The periphery of course, the region, and particularly areas that we border Somalia have had some bit of challenges, but I can assure the people of this region that sufficient security arrangements is in place. You can see a chopper that is hovering over our heads today. That is a chopper that has delivered exams all the way to Liboy, Damajale, and areas of Hame. Similarly, we also have another chopper in Bute, that is Wajir North, delivering the exams, of course, to some certain schools, as well as also in parts of Kutulo Mandera. And therefore, I think we are set, we are prepared to ensure that the exam goes on. Last year, the region suffered heavy cancellations in terms of KCPE and even KCSE. We have had stakeholders' engagements to make effort to ensure that that does not happen this year. I want to ask particularly the school managers, the center managers, the supervisors, as well as the invigilators of the respective schools to ensure that no malpractices and anomalies happen during this time. We will take action against any government officers who will aid cheating. I think it will be too unfortunate if our students who have been in school for the last 8 years only to cheat in their last year and the exams are cancelled. It will be too unfortunate. And therefore, brokers, middlemen, and cartels who would think that they will have a field day during this time and moment of examinations, we will really deal with them and we will really take action. Let's support our students. Let them get what, of course, they have toiled for, and let them, of course, transit 100% to secondary schools. Otherwise, proper preparations in place to ensure that the examinations, of course, succeed in this region.
Talk to us about security. We understand that there's been some report that this exam might be disrupted because of some attacks in the border region or that area. Is that something that you dealt with?
Of course, we do not anticipate anything. Proper security arrangements is in place. We have literally deployed sufficient fighting units all the way from Bodai and all the way to Mandera, the last area which is BB1. We have fighting units. These fighting units are also part of the multi-agency security arrangements that is meant to ensure that the examinations, of course, is transported to and fro to the container. So I do not anticipate the county commissioners, the deputy county commissioners, the OSPDs, and everybody has been alerted to ensure that no anomaly, of course, happens in that area. So I want to give the assurance. I want to give a lot of assurance again to the people of this region that the exams, just like the way we did it last year, we had no single incident of interruptions. This year again, we'll be able to deliver the exams without any security interruptions.
Thank you so much. That is Mohammed Birik, the Regional Commissioner for Northeastern, of course, talking to us about how the preparation has been for the last 2-3 days. And he said he assured residents of Northeastern and students and parents that security is something that, of course, they are they're keeping eye on. Brenda?
Thank you, Hamza Yusuf, for that detailed report of what's happening in Garissa as you keep us up to date with what is happening right there. Now, just a reminder of a top story this morning. Over 1 million candidates currently as we speak, they're writing the mathematics paper. In the next 2 hours, they'll be getting back to the exam room to write the composition